Well, let's hop in. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out for the program today.
Thank you.
You bet. So let's begin our journey with a question I always start with, and it's the COVID question. 6 years ago, this pandemic changed so much about our lives. Big fork in the road. How did you get through it, and how has it shaped the way that you work and live today?
Well, it changed my life tremendously because that gave me the time to realize that I cannot live in a marriage that is being abusive. And that's put the last nail in the coffin, as I say. And I'm from Lithuania, by the way, for those who wondering where my accent is from.
Yeah.
And that's gave me plenty of time to come up with more things. Stress management, and I'm, 7 times Amazon #1 bestselling author. So that gave me more time and energy to write the stress management for the children of alcoholics book and then launch my calm process. So it was a very productive and very life-changing time.
So let's get into the work that you do right now, a snapshot. And to do that, kids always get the truth out of us. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day, and one of the kids just wants you to synthesize your day job. How do you explain your work?
So I help others to overcome stress and help them to come out of the difficult experiences and inspire others by writing books and sharing these stories.
So when you were young, when you were that age, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was your dream job?
I always wanted to be a writer and a
Okay.
storyteller. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm living my dream.
So take me back to your beginnings. You're from Lithuania originally?
Yes, I was born in Soviet Union
Okay.
and I came to US 26 years ago.
What were the seeds that were planted that made you want to write and to give people this stress-free way of living their lives? How did all of this evolve into who you are today?
When I came to this country, I was looking for that money tree, where you go and you collect the dollars. But why I was inspired to come to this country first, obviously, when you grow up in Soviet Union, and I've seen Lithuania gain independence, and we all want a better life. We want all the possibilities, and I was born on 4th of July. So I figured that was already in the stars.
Uh-huh.
And I always had this feeling like I don't belong there and I really need to come after my dream. And when I came as an immigrant, obviously I was working very hard hours. Look, doesn't matter where you live, you always will be working hard until your goal. It's not like I'm somehow special. It doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter who you are. If you want to achieve your goals, you're going to push yourself to the maximum. But what happened? My body said, okay, that's enough. Because I was so stressed, it really derailed my hormones, and that really messed up my health. That I ended up in the emergency room, and the doctor said, "It's good that you came today, otherwise you would be dead by the morning." That was a wake-up call.
Wow.
And I started thinking, what am I doing wrong? I mean, I'm in my 30s. I'm supposed to be like this fountain of youth. If I'm not doing this now, then when? Um, and that's when I realized I need to start paying attention what I do. And I realized it doesn't look like I'm doing anything different than anybody else is doing. And I think the key was when I started doing stress management bandages, as I say, like somebody says, what is it you do for your stress? Like, oh, I do meditation and yoga and diary writing. That can help, but it's a bandage because we do not address the wound, which in my case was I find out later that having a father alcoholic will really mess up the way I grew up and how I understood safety and trusting people and all of that. And I became very anxious and hypervigilant like from day one. That was my normal state. So now when I teach others how to manage stress, I always ask them, do you know what environment you come from? Because those are the settings that we input in ourselves and then we run by it.
So talk to me a little bit about heroes, inspirations. Who was the one that fueled this desire to come to America for a better life and to write and to find your dream? Who was that for you?
There was somebody else asked me this question before, and I don't have a particular person. I have an idea. I have a desire. I had a feeling like I just don't belong in US. I mean, I don't belong in Lithuania and I need to come to US. And I think I was very avid reader. I would read a lot of books since I was a child. Obviously, I like writing. And I had ideas that gave me the opportunity to think something different, that it's possible. And I remember I was a teenager and I was reading some book, and I don't remember who wrote it, who was the author, but it was talking about the state of mind and that everything is possible. And I thought to myself, it would be nice if I actually can go where I want to go. And and I think we change through our lives. Somebody comes into your life and they give you some lessons, some inspiration, and then they leave, and then somebody else comes. And I think if I look at them, I don't have a one person that inspired me. I had a whole group of people that would inspire me to go after my dreams or be more resilient or do things that I get to the place where I say, you know what, I arrived because I change over years. And I think we all need to be more open to for that change and listen to other people. That's why I appreciate that you have this amazing podcast and you share about other people's experiences, because when we hear somebody is doing and achieving something, it inspires us. And I think that's all the power is to be inspired and actually take action and do change.
And I think it's more important now than ever because, you came from, being born in Russia and being in Lithuania. There was a lot of things that were happening that made you want to come to another country. And I find that America in 2026 is a very strange place in a way that I never thought we would get to. And I'm curious, do you have any flashbacks to things that you went through living through this right now?
Yes, and I think that's a strength, because so when I was born in Soviet Union, Lithuania was just another republic, and it's totally different culture and language and all that. And we are very, in our roots. And I remember when I was a teenager how we became independent and we left Soviet Union, and everything changed overnight. And you don't even know how we will have food tomorrow. Is then another question: There's any job to go to? And so whatever happens now, I see in the news, and I see people stressing out and then saying, "Oh my gosh, this is the end of the world." And I always say, there is always the end of the world somewhere, every day. We just be not notified about that one, especially we grew up. But now we have internet, so you know everything, what's happening, and even things that not actually happening but being blown out of proportion. But that experience when I saw Lithuania become independent, it really prepared me for any commotion that can happen politically, because I am calmer. I'm like, people will still have something what to eat, and you still will go have a job, and your still kids will be okay. So it's not like a complete war zone. So we need to appreciate the things that we have and calm ourselves and regulate ourselves, because whatever comes in, let's talk about stress management. Adults forget that we teach our kids by our own examples. So if somebody says, "Oh, I don't have time for whatever," or the first thing when they get stressed out, they start yelling at other people, or drink the whole bottle of wine, because that's the stress management technique. It's like, guess what? You're teaching your kids to do the same, whatever they get in their own stressful situation. So I think mental health is very important. And you mentioned the pandemic. This is where we realized how important that is. And I could see the change, because before pandemic, I will go to companies, and I'm a coach and a speaker about stress and stress management in the workplace, and I will say mental health is very important. And they will say, "No, I think we're good. We had already a guy who showed exercises, and another woman came, like nutritionist. She showed that I don't think we need to do stress management or any mental health." And that changed tremendously after the pandemic. So now the number one priority in the companies is actually mental health. And when we take care of ourselves and maintain that healthy mindset, then it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what will happen in our personal lives or in the nation or in the whole planet life. If we know how to handle ourselves, then we can help not only ourselves, but those that around us well.
So, from a literature perspective, what were you reading? Who were authors that you absolutely loved that formed the way that you were going to approach the page?
I my old reading started when I was a teenager already, and I don't, when I was a teenager, I was not really thinking about remembering names,
Yeah,
but I remember I was very avid readers of a sci-fi,
yeah.
everything like I think Ray Bradbury was like one of my one of the favorites, and I think when you're growing up, it's yeah, well, it's sci-fi, but then it's with books in addition to the open mind and the mind has thoughts like you can manifest things. And there was one thing that also helped us when Lithuania became independent. We had a lot of books that were coming from the West, that has to do with everything in life, very different approach. And I think if not Lithuania becoming independent and not having that possibility to have that influx of different points of views, probably I would not be sitting here. So it was a great, perfect storm that looks like life really changed. You don't know what's going to happen, but that opened up for everything, the movies, the people coming and speaking, and um, but you don't have to go through the whole country through some change. Right now in today's world, if somebody who want to change, and that's what they teach in my calm process, is if you are stressed out about situation, you really need to think about what is that you're doing now and what you need to change. And we at the time that we can get anything in our fingertips, is so only it takes is to change your mindset, that you say, you know what, I don't want to be exactly where I'm continuously being. And one question you need to ask yourself in a year, are you happy to be where you are? Will you be happy in a year where you are right now? If not, then there's plenty of opportunities for you to ask for coaching, for anyone helping you or delegating things that you don't want to do. And all it is just that making that mindset change.
So, your life has been a successful journey from coming to America, establishing yourself, best-selling author. There's a lot of wonderful things about the journey that you've been on. If you could meet anybody out there on the planet that's been through a journey that's been kind of similar to what you've gone through, is there anybody on the planet that you would love to meet, have a lunch with that might help you on your journey?
It really depends on the day, because one day I will feel like maybe I would like to meet Gabor Mate, because he was very, into childhood traumas and all the things that has to do with mental state. And then I can ask him lots of questions. But then, there will be another day they'll think that, well, maybe I would actually can get more inspiration and resilience and all of the things covered from like Michelle Obama or something. So it really depends on the day what we want. It's kind of like eating food. Like you will get bored with the same food over and over, but the key is to really listen to your own needs and honor your needs, because we've been taught that we need to think and do things that others count appropriate. And I think there's a lot of stress and unhappiness really coming from not honoring your needs, because we've been told we need to be ashamed of that.
So the cornerstone to what you're putting out in the world is about stress management, and what you're doing in your career is you're operating at a high level and helping a lot of people, which can create stress because you got to get into the human mind, and there's a lot of things as an entrepreneur and a self-starter. So what is it for you that allows you to operate at a high successful level and to keep your personal stress managed so that you stay at that place that you want to be?
Listening to my body,
Yeah.
listening to myself, and honoring my needs. Taking breaks when I feel like I need to take breaks. And of course, somebody can say, well, it's easy for you to say, okay, let's just start small. Everyone who's listening right now, a simple exercise that you can help yourself that doesn't take so much time or energy or money or anything is you put your phone to ring every hour. Let's say, okay, fine, every 2 hours. And then you stop whatever you're doing, of course, if it's safe, and do a complete opposite what you were doing for 1 minute. That itself looks like it's not a big deal. But now those who just listen in and about taking a break for 1 minute, how did you react? Did you immediately tell yourself, well, that's stupid. I'm not gonna do for 1 minute? Or somebody said, oh, well, 1 minute is not gonna really change my life. That just shows that you are not gonna honor your needs, even if it takes only 1 minute. So what's wrong? Maybe it's time to listen to yourself. But also, when we take little breaks or we listen to our body, or even drinking water when we're thirsty, or not wearing shoes that are too tight, is that we're honoring our own existence and we're not abandoning ourselves. So when you start respecting yourself, when you start honoring your needs, even small ones, you're building that trust with yourself that shows you can trust no matter what will happen. And that immediately lowers your stress level, especially when we start thinking and catastrophizing about what's happening now or in the future. If you trust yourself that you can handle anything and you will not abandon yourself, that no matter what will be thrown at you, you'll be fine.
So talk to me a little bit about, let's say you have a dream tonight and you run into that version of you about a year before you decided you were going to come to America. And you walk into the room right now and there's a film projector and you click play and your life comes up, a 60-second highlight reel of the life you've lived. Would that young version of you believe that your life turned out this way?
No, no way. Because, I remember when I was a teenager and I was like 12 or something, and I would tell people like, I'm going to go to America. And that was way before the Soviet Union fell. And I remember very clearly, my mother told me, she said, you need to stop telling to people that you're going to America because you will not. And I said, oh, I will. And then, now we laugh about it. But I think that just shows like if you really want to achieve something, you can. And it doesn't matter what anyone says. So if I will meet my teenage self again, I will tell her they were wrong and don't listen to them.
So of everything in that 60-second highlight reel, what are you the proudest, the happiest about?
Being 7 times best-selling author in a foreign language.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you. You have these different roles, family, friends, fans, everyone in a client perspective, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Someone who honors their needs, someone who does not abandon myself just to please other people. Not anymore. Like you're gonna ask me a question, I'm gonna give an answer that I really believe in. Not that it will please you or what I think it will help you. But I think when I am honest with myself and I present myself honestly, that inspire also others not to abandon themselves.
So if you were to go back to your homeland, go back to Lithuania, and you were to just run into some people that were like, "How did you do it?" And they would be bespectacled by the fact that you came to America and you're a best-selling author. What advice would you give? What would you tell them right now in 2026 about giving them hope for their future and for what's going on right now?
I would say, would you be okay in 20 years if you will continue doing exactly the same thing what you're doing now? And if they will say, no, I don't want to be in the same place, then like, okay, then make a plan and go down that plan. And you have to take action because the longer you wait, the longer it's gonna take to get there.
So let's say, as a writer and an adventurous spirit, let's say you hop into a time machine and you could go back and see one event in human history. Where would you go? What would you love to have seen with your own eyes?
Wow, if I can go and see anything, that would be a very good question because there are a lot of things that happen that's not even safe to be there. But I probably would like to go to the whatever Jesus was alive
Yeah.
because I think in many times I think he was totally misunderstood, and many times I think he says that's not what I meant. So I really would like to know what he actually meant.
So if anybody wants to pick up your best-selling books, they want to reach out, they want to hire you, any of the wonderful services that you're providing, where's the best place to go?
To my website, beamazingyou.com.
Okay. I will make it easy. I will put that in the show notes. This has been a wonderful story. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. Best of luck with everything. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. And